Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. So it has been a long time since I made a video because this little girl made her entrance into the world. So the last video I made, I was 39 weeks pregnant and I did the baby mama dance challenge with my husband, who's actually sitting right here, which is really weird because I don't normally record videos in the room, but that's okay. So yeah, it's been a while. I planned on recording my labor and delivery and everything, and then ended up just going totally not how I expected it to go, so we kind of just forgot and never recorded anything, but that's okay. So I just wanted to share my labor and delivery story. But before we get started, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. But first and foremost, I would like to introduce you to my daughter. This is Amariah Elvia Ann Hench, and she is the most precious baby. Oh, she's making baby noises, so you're probably gonna hear that in most of the video. Her name means promised gift from God. That's how we got her first name. And then she is named after both of her grandmothers. Elvia is my mom's middle name, and then Ann was Jared's mom's middle name. So she has a very strong name. Say, I am a promised gift from God. And she's also a rainbow baby. We had 2 miscarriages before her, so we wanted to make sure she had a very special name. So I was scheduled to be induced December 20th at 41 weeks and 4 days. And at this point, I was hoping I wouldn't make it to my induction because I was really scared of being induced. I don't really know why. I just wanted my body to be able to go into labor on its own. And that was not happening. Day after day went by and I was just getting really exhausted and really tired, and I was still going to the doctors every week, and I was having non-stress tests and ultrasounds to make sure she was okay. She was head down and in position for I don't even know how long, a couple weeks. So she was ready, but my body wasn't doing anything. I was dilated in a face, but labor was just not happening. So yeah, and she was doing okay, but she just wasn't ready to come yet. So like I said, I was scheduled to be induced December 20th. So the night before, Jared and I actually went and saw the new Star Wars, and I had a bunch of popcorn and candy. And then that night we ended up coming home, and we were supposed to get a call the next morning about what time to go in for the induction. So they said that I should get a phone call anywhere from like 7 a.m. to like the latest noon. So we went to sleep, or I tried to go to sleep because I was so nervous because I knew I was going to have a baby the next day, or at least start the labor process the next day. So it was really hard for me to sleep, and I ended up waking up in the middle of the night a couple of times with felt like a sour stomach, and I thought it was just because I had so much candy and popcorn from the movie. So I kept waking up a few times feeling like I had a sour stomach, and I was like, that's kind of weird. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to be like having to run to the bathroom in labor and all that stuff. Around like 7 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and my stomach started to hurt like even worse. It just like progressively got worse. And I was like, this is really weird. So like I went to the bathroom, and like I thought it was just a stomach thing, so I was able to go to the bathroom. And then it just started to get like really bad. I started to feel like period cramps. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird. And it got to a point where I was literally moaning in pain. And so I decided, I'm like, let me just time these. And they were 3 to 4 minutes apart, like almost immediately. My husband was still sleeping, and I said to him, I was like, Jared, I think I might be in labor. And he's like, no, you're not. You're being induced today. So I was like, I don't know. They're 3 to 4 minutes apart, and this is just kind of weird. So it ended up, I was moaning and groaning in pain, leaned over on the bed from the pain, and Jared's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I think you're in labor. So I made him call the doctors, and I was like, okay, so oh my goodness, you squeaky girl. I called and I was like, I'm supposed to have an induction today, but I think I'm in labor. They just told me to go right into the hospital. We packed everything up. I was really upset because I wanted to get a shower beforehand because I thought I stunk and everything, but it doesn't even matter. I was in so much pain. On the car ride over, I felt so nauseous because the pain and the contractions, like it literally just it felt like period cramps times 10, and it like radiated down my legs and my back, and it was terrible. And I was not expecting to go into labor the morning of my induction at all. We got to the hospital and they already had a room ready for me because I was supposed to be induced. So we got there and I ended up going to the bathroom and I threw up like 5 times because the pain was so bad. And so my husband went and got a nurse, and I was originally going to try to go through labor and delivery without an epidural. I want to try to do it naturally, but that pain was so bad, I was like basically yelling for the epidural. I'm like, please get me the epidural. This is so bad. I can't do it anymore. And at that point, they checked me and I was 3 centimeters dilated, 100% effaced, and the baby's head was at a 0 station, which means she was all the way down. I think that's what it means. I ended up getting the epidural then, and they had one guy come in, and I have scoliosis, and if you don't know what that is, it means my spine is a little crooked. So the person who ended up giving me the epidural didn't quite put it in right because my spine is weird. So I ended up feeling all the contractions on my left side, and oh my gosh, it was just terrible. Like every time I had a contraction, I could just feel it in half of my body, and it was just absolutely terrible. So I was like crying because the pain was so bad. And so I told the nurse, I'm like, this isn't working, like my epidural's not working. So she said that they can retry it, and I was really scared about trying again because of my scoliosis. But they had a different guy or a different anesthesiologist come in and put the epidural in, and literally within seconds I had instant relief and I was able to take a nap. My husband and I were playing games. It was just great. Oh, and I got to the hospital around, I forgot to mention that, I got to the hospital around like 8 o'clock, and like the first hour and a half, 2 hours was spent getting the epidural and fixing the epidural. And once it went in, it was great. Like I said, I was able to take a nap. And then not too long after, a couple hours later, I don't even remember exactly what time it was around like noon. I was like 5 centimeters dilated, right, Jared? Like around noon. And then they ended up breaking my water for me, and they saw that this little girl ended up passing some meconium. And at that point I was really scared because I thought I was gonna have to have a C-section, and I'm like terrified of C-sections. So I literally was saying to the nurse and the doctor, I'm like, please, I don't want to have a C-section. I don't want to have a C-section. And they're like, we didn't say you had to have a C-section. So that definitely made me feel relief. And then I think it was like another hour later, I was like at 6 centimeters when they checked me again. I was like an hour or 2. And then around like 5 o'clock, even maybe before then, I started to feel like immense pressure. Like it felt like I had to take a really big poop. That's literally what it felt like. And I just remember saying to my husband, I'm like, I really feel like I have to push. Like this just doesn't feel right. Because with the epidural, you don't really feel pain, which was amazing. You just felt pressure whenever you get a contraction. But this time I was feeling so much pressure, like it hurt almost. So I was like, okay, I need to have a nurse come check me. So I had a nurse come in, and she didn't even check me, and she's like, oh, you're probably not ready to push, and even if you are, you're gonna be pushing for a while if you start now, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, can you at least check me? Like, I feel like I'm fully dilated, but okay. So she left, and then I ended up like telling my husband, I'm like, I cannot take this anymore. Like, this is so bad. Like, I have to push, and I cannot contain it anymore. I have to push. So I called the nurse back in. I'm like, somebody needs to check me because I feel like I need to push. So the doctor came in, and she was like, no wonder why you're in so much misery. You're fully dilated. Let's start pushing. And I'm like, well, no, duh. I knew what my body was doing, and it was time to start pushing. Pushing was definitely very difficult. You push during every contraction, and I ended up pushing for about an hour and a half, and that was like the roughest hour and a half ever. At 7:07 p.m. this little girl was born, 9 pounds 6 ounces. I was not expecting her to be that heavy because in my ultrasounds they were saying she was going to be about 8.5 pounds, and she ended up being almost 9.5 pounds. So yes, you were a chunk. Yes, you were. And then, so after she was born, since she passed the meconium, they had the NICU team there to check to see if she was okay. and I don't know what they did, but they ended up saying that she was okay. Then I did some skin to skin with her and attempted to breastfeed, and then we got around 10 o'clock we got wheeled to the postpartum room, and all of our friends and family came and met this little girl. And then the next day, around when she was about 24 hours old, one of the nurses who was helping me breastfeed noticed that, well, oh, back up a little bit. Her breathing was a little fast after she's born. It was like, she was breathing like, and they were trying to say that that was normal and it could be transitional up to a certain amount of time, like transitioning from the womb to being on the outside. So I didn't think anything was wrong because they were saying that it could be transitional. And then fast forward to about when she was 24 hours old, one of the nurses who was trying to help me breastfeed, because she was not having it, she did not want to breastfeed. The nurse said like she thought something was wrong and that she needed to be taken into the NICU for tests. So she was gone for a good few hours, and then we ended up going down to the NICU and they told us that she breathed in some meconium and she had like early stages of pneumonia, I believe it was. So she needed to be on antibiotics for about a week, and she had to be on oxygen to help her regulate her breathing. So she was in the NICU for a week and like a half a day, right? Because she was born, oh no, she was in the NICU for a week because she got in on Saturday and then we brought her home last Saturday. So that was really hard, and we had to spend our first Christmas with her in the NICU. But she's doing 100% better now. She doesn't have pneumonia. The meconium is gone and she is doing great. But that was definitely really scary, and we're glad that, you know, that you're healed and doing so much better and home with us. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, I'm like all over the place. I ended up getting a 2nd-degree tear with pushing with her. So, but I'm doing good now. I'm about 2.5 weeks postpartum and the stitches are healing and everything. It was definitely really hard like the first like week and a half, like with sitting and all that stuff. But I'm definitely doing better now, and we're adjusting to life with a newborn. So, but she's definitely a precious gift, and we are happy to be her parents. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm sorry it was all over the place, but I just wanted to share my labor and delivery story with you guys. If you enjoyed, once again, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know any videos you would like to see. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much, and Lord willing, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys. Bye guys. Oh, that made you flinch.